Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Scott Luton and Kevin L. Jackson here with you on Supply Chain Now. Welcome to today's live stream. Kevin, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Scott. I am doing well. It hit 80 degrees here in the DMV over the weekend.
Really, 80 degrees.
Yeah.
Now,
So it's summer. I'm declaring it summer.
maybe it'll be here before you know it. So DMV, what does that acronym stand for? What is that?
DC, Maryland, and Virginia. You're clearly not in the know.
Uh,
DMV is where it's at, man.
that's why I plug in with you so I can be more in the know. Every second Monday of each month. It is the Digital Transformers edition of the Supply Chain Buzz, highly popular Supply Chain Buzz here on Supply Chain Now. Every Monday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we dive into some of the leading global business stories, supply chain stories, technology stories, you name it, across the globe.
And I'm
Kevin,
sorry. I'm sorry. I really apologize.
yeah.
I know I bounced the check for this week's show, but I'll make it good. You know, it's
Good.
hard to get on this. It's hard to get on this show.
We know Vicky will be chasing you down. I want to protect your legs because she will break them. But no, Kevin, great to have you as always. I love these shows. I love your good work, your thought leadership, all the moving and shaking
Thanks.
you do to help others. Stay up not only in the know when it comes to all things technology, but better yet, how to take action and do something about
Mm.
this digital transformation age. That's important, right, Kevin?
Oh yeah, it is critical. I mean, if you are not leveraging uh, data to improve your services to your customers and clients, to get visibility into your supply chain, you are not going to be in business for long. And
That's right.
that's what digital transformation is all about understanding the data, leveraging the data, and taking action and making decisions based upon that data so that you can attain your business goals.
That's right. That is right. So, folks, we're going to be diving into a variety of news and developments across the globe here today with an extra helping, I'll call it, of all things technology. And hey, beyond hearing from Kevin, myself and Kevin, want to hear from you as well. We're going to say hello to a few folks that are tuned
Mm.
in from across the globe momentarily. But Kevin, before we get going,
Mhm.
let's share a couple of other programming opportunities for folks have out there across our global community. Tomorrow,
Yep.
April 11th, we're diving into the really hot topic of supply chain planning. Man, talk about change and improvement in any particular space. Planning's been where it's at for years now. We're going to talk about with Michael Conley with CCH Taketic, with Walters Kluwer, how to go beyond, far beyond S&OP in 2023. That's tomorrow,
Mhm.
April 11th at 12 noon Eastern time. And then, Kevin,
Yep.
you got a busy week because Wednesday, April 12th, you've got two of our faves, Dr. Sally Eves and Helen Yu. What are y'all getting together and talking about on Wednesday?
Yes, absolutely. This is sponsored by AT&T Business. We're going to talk about cybersecurity and network modernization. You know, I mentioned the fact that it's really critical for you to understand your data so you can make decisions to support your services and your customers and clients. But that data requires a solid network, a solid and secure network. And that's modernization, you know, leveraging wide area networking technologies, virtual private networks. You have to protect yourself against the malevolent actors out there in the world. And that's really what network modernization is all about. And Sally Eves and Helen Yu, I tell you, they are at the top of the game when it comes to cybersecurity. And I'm gonna sit back with my notepad and take notes.
Well, y'all check out that event on Wednesday, this Wednesday, April 12th at 12 noon. And we're going to drop the link to check that. In fact, we already have. You can check out that LinkedIn Live via this link here. Just click on it, and you'll be part of that event. Kevin, speaking of,
Yeah.
and we're going to got one more quick program note that we're going to say hello to a few folks. But speaking of those bad actors out there you mentioned, just over the weekend, I got, folks are latching on to anything we know and trust, in email
Yeah.
and elsewhere over the weekend, I was sent a DocuSign, and everything about it looked real, right? Everything did. But I hit up a couple folks internally, the only folks that I use DocuSign with. None of them knew about it. And then right away, I knew it was yet another very advanced phishing. Everything they had,
Yeah.
even the long code, the reference code. It's I tell you, you got to really double check before you click these days, huh?
Yeah. One of the things, I mean, I'm a consultant. I have a huge company of one, right? And I keep getting these emails about, GC GlobalNet HR needs you to fill out this
Oh
form.
gosh.
GC GlobalNet is changing its policies, and in order for you to get your check next week, you have to click here. And it's so amazing how much I don't know about what I'm doing.
They're trying everything these days. They're
They
trying
try
everything.
everything.
But folks, take heed, take caution, because you never know that thing you trust, you've been using for years. You never know when that might be compromised. So use this.
From one thing I
Yeah.
read also, that the most impersonated companies on the internet are UPS and Amazon, and
Yeah.
it's all about deliveries and supply chain,
Yep.
right?
That's right. We all, they know that there's a particular short list of things we really care about. Paychecks, as you mentioned, where our stuff is, as we talk about here a lot. And folks, you gotta be slow to act sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. So that's our public service announcement here today. I want to share one more thing when it comes to other resources. So if you haven't signed up yet, join in your almost 21,000 friends across the globe that get our With That Said weekly LinkedIn newsletter. And Kevin, over the weekend, we shared a note around resources and events and whatnot, but we also talked about business leaders out there seeking that single source of truth, right? And we used a little example of Ponce de Leon, who's always looking for the fountain of youth, right? And so we took a lighter moment and really took an opportunity to talk about how vital and how important it is that businesses are able to find and implement and utilize and optimize that single source of truth. Tens of billions of dollars are being wasted each year by how all of us misuse information or don't have the information we need. And man, it's a big opportunity. You were going to say, Kevin?
Yeah. I'm going to have to call Greg on the carpet on that, because it's something I just don't agree with. Right. I don't believe in the fallacy of a single source of truth.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
I think it's critical to look at all sources of information and balance the source with the information. What's its credibility, right? Has it been good in the past? Is it relevant to you? And you have to be smart. I think there's a mistake if you rely on a single source of truth, because it may be wrong. But if you
hedge your bets a bit.
Hedge your bets, right? You listen to multiple sources, and they should reinforce the right decision.
Okay.
And those sources that don't reinforce the right decision, you got to put the skank eye on them, right?
All right, Kevin, you can't make me laugh today. This pollen,
I understand. You're fighting Mother Nature over there.
That's right. That stank eye, put that stank eye on things. So we're gonna have to set up a discussion around what you said, kidding aside. So we'll do that. Greg, of course, Greg White, the one and only, is on assignment here today as we tackle the Digital Transformers edition. We'll have him back soon, and we'll dive into that. Okay, let's share a couple of comments from all the folks. We got a bunch of folks tuning in here today, and they're already dropping some knowledge. I'm gonna start with this little supply chain now, not later. This kind of reminds me of the now and later's candy back as a kid, right?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. No. Go back to Thumbtack.
Okay.
You're right. Okay, you're right about that jacket. I love this jacket. Thank you.
Man,
recognize the goat. Recognize the goat.
Tomcat is making our day for sure. Good stuff there.
With a name like Tomcat, I mean,
Man.
F-14, that's the best plane ever.
So look at this. So going back to threats we're all getting, Dana got 2 texts like the phishing attempts like we were talking about just yesterday. T Squared, great to have you. He holds down the fort for us on YouTube. Due diligence cannot be ignored. I'm with you there. John, welcome in. John says, Scott, the best way to verify the sender from a DocuSign standpoint as legit is to see who the underlying sender is. That'll always validate the real from the fraudsters. Good point there, John.
Yeah, always hover over the link before you click. Then you can see where it's really going to. Unfortunately, you can't do that, or it's very difficult to do that on a smartphone, right? You can't kind of hover on a smartphone. You need like a mouse.
Yes. They need to be able to gauge where our eyes are looking and then have that thing pop up before we make a click. We'll see. That maybe next generation. And I almost said iPhone, but I'm not going to breathe iPhone in this conversation, Kevin, because that brings up other things. Kidding aside, to all of our listeners out there that tuned in, our team had a really interesting iPhone versus all those smartphones discussion on a team call one day. So we'll have to revisit that.
You can say Android. You can say it.
There we go.
It'll come out your mouth.
Okay. Leah Luton from Aiken, South Carolina, aka Mom. Hey, Mom. Hello on this beautiful Monday, Scott and Kevin. You are right. It is gorgeous out there. Hey, Waleed. He wants to come on the show. He's checking the marketing budget now. Hey, Waleed, get back to us. Great to have you here today, regardless. D from, is that Mabane, North Carolina, Kevin?
Mabane. Well, I've never been there. Where are you near? What city are you near?
D, let us know. But great to have you here via LinkedIn. Manav is tuned in from India. Great to see you here via LinkedIn. Hey, Helmut Heinzer is tuned in. Helmut, really enjoy your content you put out there via LinkedIn and elsewhere. Great to see you here. Manali via LinkedIn says, hello, Kevin.
Hello.
And Wadad tuned in via LinkedIn, watching from Canada. Great to see you here today.
Canada.
Oh, Canada. That's right. All right. So, Kevin, and by the way, Justin, great to see you.
Hey,
AT&T
Justin.
Business offers active armor that assists in preventing unwarranted threats. How about that? A little pitch in the comments. Justin, good to see you. And Gino, great to see you here via North Alabama. Hope this finds you well, Gino. Okay, Kevin, we got to get to work. You ready?
Work? Oh, you said the wrong word there. Another 4-letter word.
Well, you know what? This would be the best work we do all week, undoubtedly.
Right, let's do this. Let's do this.
So I want to pull up our first article here today. So, Kevin, before as we get into our first article, we're starting with this recent Forbes piece by Steve Banker. And folks, if you're not tracking, reading, following Steve Banker, he's a great, I call an industry analyst, what have you. He writes a lot in Forbes, but we're going to be diving into this piece where he's sharing some results from a recent digital transformation focused survey conducted by the American Productivity and Quality Center, APQC. Kevin, tell us more.
Well, first of all, if you've never heard of the APQC, you really should, because they provide benchmarks across every industry in a lot of different business processes. And in this particular report, they were looking at digital transformation in logistics. And what they found is that most of the respondents are actually in the midpoint when it comes to digital transformation initiatives. And this is the supply chain areas of inventory management, transportation, warehouse equipment, and facility management. But these, respondents were on the low end when it comes to compliance and safety, which is a red flag. Like 91% of the inventory management respondents are really digitizing their data and processes. I mean, that's a huge number, but only 31% are actually using predictive analytics, and only 26% are using artificial intelligence. So they're
Wow.
getting the data, but they're not actually implementing the processes or using the technology to implement it so they can actually make decisions based on that data. In transportation, 92% are digitizing data and processes, but only 31% are using predictive analytics. And but in compliance and safety,
Yeah.
neither one third, 33%, do not have any digital transformation initiatives in place.
Mm.
Okay. Only about a third of them have digitized their data and processes in that particular business process. And very, very few are using artificial intelligence or predictive analytics to optimize the use of the digitized data. Look,
Mm.
it doesn't do any good if you have the data and you don't use it to make decisions. Come
Right.
on, guys.
Right. Because usually really expensive to get the data. And if you're going to invest all the
Yeah.
money and then not do anything, that's always been a knock on big data for years. Kevin, what I also liked, and
Mhm.
there's some, and going back, you shared some, I think, some really surprising factoids and statistics there. Sounds like there's massive opportunities across the industry, as there always is. I want to point
Yeah.
out to folks, and we dropped a link to this article via Forbes here. Y'all can check it out for yourself. Included in the article is a great white paper that Steve Banker and his organization did on 25 leading organizations when it comes to digital transformation and what are some of the common elements that make up their journey. And Kevin, one of them, and y'all check it out, read it for yourself. One of the common themes that emerged as they interviewed leadership with these top 25 really big companies is a big element of their successful digital transformation, that approach, was basically finding something, technology, approach, aspect that's working, and then find a way
Mhm.
to scale it across the enterprise, right? And
Yep.
that
Yep.
really, Kevin, I'd love to get your thoughts here. Because when you hear the phrase digital transformation and everything folks kind of define it, it can be kind of overwhelming, especially as you have a big global organization. But that key learning from that research piece of finding something that works and scale it, that really can be it can be that simple, right, Kevin?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, digital transformation has actually nothing to do with technology.
Mm,
Okay. I mean, you can use technology and technology services, but it all starts with the organizational's business goals.
mm,
Once you identify the business goals, and this applies across the entire organization, then you identify the metrics and the associated data that represents where you are on the journey to maximize the metrics that actually return
yep.
you to those goals. Now, and and the data, like we were talking about, people are getting data, but they're not linking that data to actual decisions. So
Right.
there's no value. But
Yep.
if you start with the goal, right, then it will naturally be able to expand across the entire organization, and that's what's important.
Yep, that's right. And getting leaders and team members across the organization to think that way, that's a
Yeah.
big part of successful digital transformation as well.
Yep.
Okay, Kevin, good stuff, man. You came right out of the gate with a grand slam, and we got two more articles and a lot more conversation to get through. I want to bring D back up here. So D says that it's pronounced with a short A, Maban,
Maban,
Maban, and it's about 30
Meban,
minutes. Meban,
yeah,
maybe
Meban, yeah.
30 minutes west of Raleigh and 30 minutes east of Greensboro. Speaking of Kevin, the gate city of Greensboro. Have you been to Greensboro?
Yes, I have. Well, my wife's family has a lot of people down in Greensboro. And I actually flew to the Greensboro airport, took
Yeah.
my mother-in-law and her mother
Yep.
to go down to a family event down there. So yes, I've been to Greensboro.
It,
There was actually I actually went there. Wasn't there total eclipse. That's where I went to go see a total eclipse a few
Okay.
years ago also.
Well, I'm not familiar with that, but we did just visit Greensboro last week on our way up to DC with the family, and we stopped
Okay.
into the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. And if you're visiting Greensboro, check that out. It's intriguing and very educational to learn and be able to get your kids to look back and learn through a lot of what is on exhibit and a variety of different um, vehicles at that museum and center. So y'all check that out. Okay. So jumping back, Kevin, from geography
Yeah.
and history into, I want to share Casey Jenkins' comment here. Casey says, I think the reason that utilization rate is so low data-driven decisions is what she's
Yeah.
talking about, is because they don't understand their internal and external processes or the technology enough. So they don't know the processes or the technology enough to know how to take the output and apply it for optimization, especially in complex chains. Kevin, that seems to be on the
Yeah.
target to me.
Absolutely. And that's because they didn't start with understanding their actual business processes. So it's scary because that means they started collecting data not knowing why they were collecting the data. So they can't use it,
Right.
They don't know how to use it. And you're right, Casey. You're right.
Yep. And that goes back to your point, Kevin, of it's as much of a people initiative as anything technology, getting everyone, all of us, all the team, the organization aligned around what we're trying to do. So that's a good point. And Casey, great to have you join us there via LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you, Casey. Great observation.
That's right. All right. So D, I tell you, D is on the money. Mebane, North Carolina. Mebane. We're going to get this right eventually, D. And I'm so glad. Thanks for your help. We hate to get any names wrong here. All right. So, Kevin, we're going to dive into our second story here today. And I want to bring this graphic up. So, here we're talking supply chain, or maybe more supply chain 4.0 via this recent blog from our friends at Neurosis. Now, I like it's a good read, but my favorite part of this read is a wide variety of examples of digital transformation in supply chain that it offers. So what's your take, Kevin?
Well, first, when I saw neurosis, I was thinking neurotic. And I said, do I want to read about an article from? I know. But anyway, they gave some great information, though.
But it really is good stuff.
They start off is that supply chain 4.0 is really a significant shift in how a business you manage their supply chain operations. And the technology services that are being used really focus on digital transformation. For instance, the Internet of Things that supports supply chains by providing real-time visibility and insights into the movement of goods and services. So if you have a business goal of delivering quicker so that you can satisfy your customers' needs and desires, clearly Internet of Things with data from Internet of Things devices would help you. Business process automation, that's a key driver of supply chain transformation because businesses can reduce errors, save time, and increase productivity by taking these repetitive and manual tasks and giving them to robots. Okay, I want a robot doing critical tasks because they will do it right, and you won't have the error that's inherent with using humans. Data analytics, right? Using artificial intelligence with data analytics, businesses can identify patterns and trends in their supply chain data. And this enables them to make more informed decisions and optimize their operations. Going back to the very first article, they're collecting all this data, but they're not analyzing the data so they can see the trends. So it's just a waste of money just collecting data.
Yes.
Blockchain, the distributed ledger system, right? That provides a secure and tamper-proof record of all transactions and activities across the supply chain. And when you think about transaction, don't limit yourself to financial transactions, right? Information transactions. Who has information and who gives that information to what party? How do you receive information? What party provides information that's critical to your business processes? And finally, cloud computing, my favorite.
Yeah.
It transforms supply chains by enabling businesses to store and access data and applications over the internet rather than on local servers or computers. That gives you the ability to access your data and make decisions and act on your data from anywhere. And in today's world where you need to be able to work from anywhere, including work from home, cloud computing platforms are critical.
Yeah. So a ton of good stuff, folks. And we dropped the link to this article here, there, from our friends at Neurosis. And as Kevin says, has nothing to do with your psychology. It's all technology and then some. So I'll check that out. And Kevin, one of the things that pointed out is real-time location systems, aka RTLS. Maybe that can just help us solve the ongoing $1 trillion question: is where's my stuff at? Where's
my stuff at?
Where's my stuff at?
Yeah.
Good stuff there. All right. So I want to, before we hit, we've got a quick announcement and we got one more, a third article. We'll take a little sidebar here, Kevin. We're going to put on our Siskel and Ebert hat. You remember that show from the 80s? Siskel and Ebert?
Yeah, right.
I loved how simple they kept the reviews. It was 2 thumbs up, it was 1 thumb up, or it was like 0, or both 2 thumbs down, basically. And then they offer their commentary. But I want you shared pre-show. You watched, I think, over the weekend, the sequel to the world record-setting, Avatar, when it first came out. I think it still holds the record, if I'm not mistaken, one of the biggest films of all time. Now, you watched the sequel, and we're talking all this technology.
The Way of the Water.
Okay.
I think it's Way of the Water. Yeah.
So, to level set, were you a big fan of the first?
I love the first one.
All right, 2 thumbs up.
Two thumbs up on the first one.
So you had high expectations this weekend as you sat down with your Diet Coke and popcorn to sit down and watch the sequel. Tell us, what's your review of the sequel?
First of all, I never waste a good Coke by doing diet. It's always always the real Coke. But on the sequel, I'm going to have to give it 1 up and 1 down.
Okay.
I love the technology. They expanded its use. The special effects were really good. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to, spoil it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really good. But I tell you, for me, the storyline was weak. Okay. They put a lot of money into technology, and I'm a tech guy, right? But the storyline, it just sort of, it seemed like something that they, recycled from an old movie somewhere.
Okay. Well, folks, you heard it here, right? Kevin gave, I love your mixed 1 thumb up, 1 thumb down. Y'all check out the Avatar sequel and let us know what you think. And if you believe, like Kevin, that the technology imagining is the best part of the film, let us know. I'd love to know. Okay, Kevin, moving right along, I want to share, we've been supporting this leveraging logistics for Ukraine initiative, sadly, because it has to exist for over a year now, right? And I got to tell y'all, as we hopefully we make your ears bleed about this, because we believe it to our bones. Vector Global Logistics and the great work that Maureen and Christy and Enrique and Astrid and the whole team is doing there to do good. Thus far, it's resulted in, I got to update my numbers, but over 600,000 pounds of humanitarian aid has made it to Ukraine and Poland and elsewhere to families in need. And it's all driven by monthly meetings, monthly planning sessions, and of course, the generosity of really global industry. So many different organizations have contributed. So if you want to join us and just learn, you don't have to give, you don't have to say anything. You can just go and observe. Tuesday, May 9th at 11 a.m. Eastern time is the next planning session that drives this thing. 11 a.m. Eastern time. We'd love to have you join in and learn more about how we can work together to help so many in need. Kevin, your thoughts here around this program and the need out there?
Well, it's a horrible thing that's what's happened, but we can support the need, make it easier by providing the things that they need.
That's right.
Where's your stuff, right? So we're getting the things that they need that they can't get, or don't have access to, and getting it to them. And it's not just in Ukraine, but a lot of people have been displaced, and they're in Poland or Romania or here in the States. So, and like you said, sadly, we've been doing this for over a year. But let's keep supporting, and we'll get through this together.
That's right. That's right. So jump in where you can. Again, you don't have to give to show up these meetings. You don't have to say anything, share anything, answer any questions. You can literally just show up and observe and take it all in. So, okay. So that's May 9th. And we've got the link to that here. So you're one click away from learning more about that and signing up for that meeting. Okay, Kevin.
Yes, sir.
Now, on a much lighter note, Gino really enjoyed the Avatar Part 2.
Okay.
So we're gonna have to have a little film review session with you and him. We're gonna compare and contrast your review of that movie.
So
Now,
I didn't say 2 thumbs down. I mean,
okay.
it was it was a good movie.
So that was in, let's see here. The original came out in 2009. So that sequel
It was
was
a while
13
ago.
years in the making. Man,
Yeah.
how about that?
They
All
could have
right.
spent more time on the storyline then.
Okay. All right. So from Avatar and Hollywood back to global supply chain, one of our favorite, and technology, one of our a couple of our favorite industry topics. We'll talk nearshoring, Kevin. Nearshoring. Now that word is not the first time our incredibly smart audience has heard it. We've all have heard that
Right.
dozens, hundreds of times, right? And also not just in the last year or two. I mean, nearshoring and offshoring, they've been trends, and it's been all very cyclical for decades now, right? Longer than that.
Yeah.
So in this article, Christopher Kent opines in this article via supply and demand chain executive that nearshoring can accelerate resilience through digital transformation. So Kevin, tell us more.
So, nearshoring and offshoring and onshoring, this is different points of the pendulum. Okay. And that's one of the big problems is that the pendulum keeps moving. The optimum point for the pendulum also keeps moving. This is a dynamic thing. All right. But so it's really a pivotal time for all of us to reimagine how we manufacture goods and by embracing Industry 4.0 and digital technologies, because that's how we can actually keep our eye on the pendulum and move as necessary. We need to become more agile and resilient. So nearshoring and reshoring are viable supply chain strategies for many critical industries. But don't forget, for some aspects, offshoring is good as well. So smart regional manufacturing is coming in as a very important component for when that pendulum is in the middle. You use nearshoring to move closer to customers and suppliers within the regional market, because it has lots of benefits, like being more responsive to the customers and real faster to market. Retooling for the digital age. Okay, we talked about data. That data tells you which option is best. And in an enabled, a 4.0 enabled facility, a factory, you can leverage advanced robotics to move products to, from, and around production warehouses and loading areas. And finally, you can have resilience in your supply chain through digital transformation. Okay, businesses and governments were really unpleasantly surprised by the fragility of supply chains during the pandemic. And recent geopolitical aspects is really focusing strategic priorities on ensuring unhindered access to critical components and materials. We talked a bit about the fact that Ukraine was like the number one supplier of automobile harnesses, electrical harnesses
Right.
worldwide. Okay, and how that affected the entire automobile industry. So this has really led companies and countries to embrace reshoring and nearshoring of strategic elements in their supply chains.
Yeah.
So, these are tools that you can use. It's a dynamic world. Data gives you that visibility and insight into the dynamic nature of that world. So, yes, you have to collect that data, but if you don't take the next step of leveraging machine learning, artificial intelligence, so that you can visualize the patterns in that data, then you can't make the decisions that are needed, are necessary to track that pendulum as it goes back and forth,
Right.
nearshoring, onshoring, offshoring. You need that.
Well said. And that's a good way of looking at it. It's not, while there's a lot more nearshoring going on right now, the
Mhm.
pendulum, who knows when it goes back the other way? There's a lot of offshoring going on still right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think one of the important things here is for supply chain leaders to that they are considering is the equation isn't just, while it's still important, total landed cost. Total landed
Mhm.
cost will always be important, but man, if anything has taught us the value of really understanding all sorts of risk and mitigating what could happen. That you mentioned the automotive
Right.
harness out of Ukraine. Of course, lots of companies are looking for ways of maybe moving their production from some part of China elsewhere. Vietnam's been a beneficiary of a lot of
Mhm.
that. Mexico and Latin America here in
Yep.
our hemisphere are vibrant opportunities are across that region. In the past, Turkey for apparel has been a hot nearshoring market. I mean, it it supply chain leaders have to holistically, as they are,
Yeah.
holistically examine the overall equation, of course, with the big usual suspects being costs and other. But man, risk, thankfully, is being viewed on a much more even terms basis than perhaps in years past. Kevin, your final thought here.
Yeah. So this is a multifaceted issue, right? And I'm going to go back to Don Quixote.
Okay.
There is no single source of truth in solving this issue, right? You have to look at risk. You got to look at cost. You got to look at distance. You got to look at
Talent,
your customers.
energy.
You got to look
Yeah.
at talent. Lots of different sources of truth about a lot of different things that you have to, not necessarily balance because each aspect may not be equivalent to another aspect.
Yep.
But you have to leverage the most important human brain in the room to settle this. It's artificial intelligence is not going to sell it. Machine learning is not going to sell it. It's going to be a human
That's right.
that makes the decision.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It came up. This came up on a LinkedIn exchange
Mm.
a week or two ago. The site selection activities that go on, especially
Yeah.
with greenfield sites. It we should all really celebrate a lot of the work that goes into that a lot more. Just over the last few days, there's a big solar cell plant that was the latest plant being announced here in Georgia, where we live.
Mm-hmm.
The vice president of the United States was here in the state, taking part in that big announcement, and Georgia has won 3 or 4 mega
Wow.
sites in the last 8 months or so. Right with that one, Rivian which is a big plant with
Yeah, really. Yeah.
6,000 jobs or something. It is
They're
supposedly in the
going
work.
after Tesla. They're going after
Man,
Tesla, aren't they?
but the site selection of how these companies and really this cross-functional teams from these ecosystems that have a vested interest in finding the best site globally. It's
Mhm.
a science and an art that we should really put a spotlight more on, because it is a fascinating component of global industry. And what you just said, Kevin, of how you got to holistically, access to energy, talent, technology, raw materials, the logistics infrastructure, just to name a
Yeah.
few of all the tax breaks, of course, which generate a lot of debate out there across our communities. All kinds of things we have to weigh as we determine, where the best markets for ABC manufacturing or whatever
Yeah.
uh,
Absolutely.
is to go. Right?
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Multifaceted, and you need a team, and that
Yes.
team needs data. So,
Yep.
and that's digital transformation at its
That's
heart.
right. Uh,
Support the humans.
if
Don't let the humans die.
if global supply chain was Cookie Monster, data would be cookies here in this era. Endless
Yes.
appetite,
I
right?
like that. I like
But
that.
but the point you've made a couple times now is not that did you get the data? It's what are you doing with the right data?
Mhm.
All right, let's share a couple comments here. Let's see. Casey, risk management is key and has to be included in supply chain management these days.
Yep.
Reactionary measures are clearly not going to cut it anymore when risk is presented. Has to be proactive risk management in order to remain agile. Casey, you're
I,
on
l-
fire today.
I love
Kevin,
Casey. When's she going to be on the show?
I'll tell you what, that is excellent perspective, especially being proactive, because everybody's
Yeah.
after that organizational agility these days. And maybe Catherine and Amanda can let me know who this is. Great job, gentlemen. Humans, this LinkedIn user says, humans
Yeah.
are still the most important factor in getting through supply chain issues. You would agree with that, Kevin?
Absolutely. Two thumbs up.
Two thumbs up. And I might would argue. I love that person put supply chain issues there, but I think it's greater than that.
Oh yeah.
It's really business. It's tough. I'm not sure if a bot or an AI platform, when we talk about truly problem solving, small problems, really big, complex problems, and there's always the human factor is so important when it comes to solving issues across global business in 2023, right?
Yeah. I think robots can only give recommendations.
Mm,
Okay. They should not be relied upon to make the decision, because there's, like, once again, there's so many factors, and there are factors that the robot just may not see or can't see.
right.
Okay. So it's important. The human is critical.
That's right. Okay, so we have a few more minutes here before we call it a day. The
Yeah.
pollen has got me down. I could barely make it through. I'm so glad I hadn't had a coughing fit yet, Kevin, because you make me laugh all
No.
the time, and
Well, I'm gonna.
that triggers it.
Yeah.
But
Well, I know you're trying to hold stuff back, but do you mind if I go off on a tangent for a second?
please go off on a tangent. We
Okay.
encourage tangents here.
Because I know nobody else might know. Probably everybody knows that you are a space nerd, man. So I know for a fact you
Okay.
are waiting for the SpaceX orbital launch this week. Starships going not to the moon, but around the Earth at least.
You know, it is a fascinating time to be a space nerd for
Yeah.
so many different big macro level trends, and then the unique developments that you point out there, Kevin. The James Webb Space Telescope
Hmm.
is just, I mean, they're scratching the surface of the impact that's going to have and fundamentally changing our organization. And of course, as we've talked about here before, and a minute ago, I think I pressed the wrong button when it comes to muting versus the ISO shot. So Catherine and Amanda might have been laughing, but
You say, that's the
the
problem with live, right?
right, that's right.
No,
But
could you
pri-
edit that in post? Thank you.
privatization, it's really interesting where we're going. You of course have spent time at NASA with the what mission?
Yeah, it was a New Horizon mission
New
to
Horizon, Pluto.
Pluto. Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how the multi-tiered relationships are working between the private sector when it comes to all things space and the government sector.
Hmm.
Because I'm a big believer that it takes both, right? It takes
Yeah.
both. It'll be interesting to see how NASA continues to evolve. But it's Kevin. I mean, I mean, I'm just a space nerd. You've been a part of these missions. What do what's your take of where we are now and what's ahead?
Well, the most important thing that's happening right now is the power of entrepreneurship has taken over in the space industry. It's not just big government. And that means that they can take more risk. And when you take more risk, when you look at the, the possibilities and you strive for those possibilities, then you get accelerated evolution of
Hmm.
the industry. And that's what's happening in the space industry today. And that's good for us all. So I'm happy. I'm happy. Plus,
I am.
it's good for it's good for society. It's good for our future. I mean, Earth is not going to be here forever.
Yeah, that's true. And folks, you should go check out, folks. Google, impact NASA's had just in our day to day living. There's so many different innovations that have come out of the various aspects of the
Hmm.
space program that aren't celebrated. So y'all check that out. And
You know what I celebrate every day?
what's that?
The microwave, so I can
Yeah,
eat. Eat fast.
eat fast too. That's right. Let's see here. Anand, I want to bring this up. And all this goes back to supply chain. Some of our listeners may be thinking, what are they doing talking about space? Well, folks, that's where we're going next to be able to realize the art of the possible and put humans on Mars or for that matter, just back to the moon, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's going to take all sorts of supply chain management, right?
So
And that's,
one thing,
yeah,
yeah,
Kevin, go
okay.
ahead.
We talk about supply chain management, okay? A critical aspect of supply chain that we've already talked about is data,
Hmm.
okay? Now, how do you get data about the supply chain? It's by the satellites that are orbiting the Earth that can collect data from sensors, from that Internet of Things that's tracking where's my stuff.
Right. That's right.
Okay, so the space industry is critical to getting that data, disseminating that data, so that the humans can actually look at it and make decisions. And that's getting even more and more and more important in all aspects of business. As the space infrastructure is building out and we're going to be getting all of our raw materials from the asteroids,
Yes.
right? Um, so,
That's right.
so,
And he's
so
only halfway kidding. I mean, that
yeah,
really there's a wide variety of business plans, highly technical business plans for trying to do just that out there, Kevin.
right.
Right?
And that there's going to be a space hotel launched in less than 10 years, right? And space tourism is
Yes.
already an industry.
It'll be the Kevin L. Jackson Intergalactic Hotel and Resort. I can see it now. But all of that aside, it is a fascinating time to solve and look at
Yeah.
innovative breakthroughs in global supply chain, and then of course what's to come in universal supply chain. It's going to be mind blowing. And Kevin, you mentioned the
Hmm.
whole satellite network. I was reading something last week about just how dense that has become, and satellites are continuously being added. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have some work cut out to make sure our air traffic control, our satellite traffic control, is safe for all parties. Kevin, I'd be
Yeah.
remiss if I didn't ask you about this as we start to wind down. And before I do,
Uh-huh.
I want to share Anand's point here. Great to have you here via LinkedIn, Anand. Collaboration is key in supply chain, where external partners like carriers, suppliers, customers, and the internal team can chat or collaborate in one platform. Anand, excellent point, and critical to modern day supply chain, right? Modern day global
Yeah.
supply chain. Kevin, Digital Transformers continues to kick butt and take
Yes.
names, right? Had a
Yes.
variety of big interviews that have resonated across the globe. What share one of your favorite recent interviews, or maybe one of your favorite ones coming up? Your thoughts.
Well, first of all, we just started a huge series with SAP, where we're talking about how SAP, what critical role SAP is playing with respect to digital transformation
Yep.
across all industries. And just as a shout out, I'm going to be at Sapphire next month. Yeah, the middle of May. Um, and I'll be interviewing some of SAP's clients and customers that are leveraging data being provided via S4 HANA to make these supply chain and ERP decisions.
Okay.
And we just launched, we released the first of this interview series. Leonardo, he's going to, from Beyond Technologies, talking about digital transformation in ERP.
Love it.
So check that out on Digital Transformers.
And you can get that, folks, wherever you get your podcast from. You can also check it out on YouTube. Kevin, how else would you invite folks to connect with you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn, we're on Facebook. We just started posting on TikTok. Now you're going to say, oh, you're going to let the Chinese? Hey, it's a global community. Where's Greg? I'm gonna look over my shoulder.
Oh, we can't wait to have Greg back, and we're going to dive into a lot of things we talked about here today. But it has been fascinating to watch how quickly that programming has grown. And Catherine says, "I didn't know you were on TikTok, Kevin."
Yes, Kevin L. Jackson
Can you?
_ tech, TECH. I'm there, baby. I'm there.
SME annual
Oops.
registration is open for that, both virtual and in person. And that's coming up in Orlando in May. So y'all check that out. Maybe Amanda and Catherine can Google a quick link and we can drop that in chat and make it easier. Okay. One cool thing here with supply chain now. Clay and I had lunch the other day with.
Okay. I think Scott. So yeah, I think Scott has like 237 channels over there. So he's trying to work through those channels so he can get the right one connected. But how you doing there, Scott?
Am I back here? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So hey, Murphy's Law is always alive and well, especially on Mondays. Can you hear me okay, Kevin?
Yes, here you're good. You're
All right,
back.
man. Well, hey, Kevin, y'all check out Digital Transformers. Connect with Kevin L. Jackson everywhere, including Tech Talk. And Kevin, I'm gonna give you your last word here on the buzz before I sign off. What would you challenge people to do?
So I think it's really important for people to think about the importance of humans and use the data that you collect. You connect humans to the data that you collect via machine learning and artificial intelligence. All right. So got to take that key step when it comes to digital transformation.
That's right. Be a digital transformer like Kevin L.
B,
Jackson. That's right.
absolutely.
Well, hey, folks, hopefully you enjoyed today's Supply Chain Buzz. Thanks for all the great comments and questions. I know we couldn't capture everything, but whatever you do, on behalf of Kevin and Catherine and Amanda, the whole team here at Supply Chain Now, Scott Luton challenging you to do good, to give forward, and to be the change that's needed. And we'll see you next time right back here at Supply Chain Now. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.